I'm going to do is leave it to the medical professionals to give their overview of everything.
Find any excuse possible in the world. I don't care how rare the disease is, you name it, to explain it. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. The simplest explanation is bro is on steroids and lots of them. Coach Greg, in today's video, the aftermath of calling out Prosper Fitness as a fake natty. And so, as you know, went over the blood work and it proved that he's a fake natty. Did he then come out and make a video and say, you know, I'd like to apologize? No. He said, they got it wrong. And here's doctors that are going to say, I am natural. And so, of course, what they do is they double down. It's going to be exciting to go through the bullshit response video and tell you exactly what's going on. Greg is going to have a field day with this video. AMG Bros finished. Least convincing, unbiased doctor report I've ever heard. No verification of who the doctor is, nothing. No explanation as to why the markers are all out of range.
I've went to a series of doctors and gave them my blood work, so they can analyze my blood work and give an unbiased opinion of my blood work.
Let's address that. They gave an unbiased opinion of his blood work. When I first recorded the video, I said, I believe he's natural. And so I went into it thinking he was going to pass. I wrote him, hey, I want to prove that you're natural. Can you send me the blood work? Absolutely. Get the blood work. And I'm thinking, can't wait to make a video. Lo and behold, so many markers were off, pointing, staring at the fact that he is not natural.
And what we're going to do in this video is counteract them series of allegations. What I'm going to do is leave it to the medical professionals to give their overview of everything.
Second of all, you think that doctors are experts in reading blood work from people who are using and abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Remember who used to sell them? This guy. And so these doctors would go and say, yep, bodybuilders, they might use 50 milligrams of D-ball in a day. That was a cycle, literally in court. And I'm thinking, what about the test, the trend, the mastrone, and about 20 other things we're taking at the same time? Literally, this is a cycle. That ain't no cycle I've seen. You're just using 50 milligrams of D-ball. And so they're standing there with their expert opinions, talking about the steroid cycles that people take, the risk factors and so on. And I'm thinking, they have no idea what steroids actually are. I was saying, oh, what about DEXA? The doctor had not even heard of DEXA. You think doctors are experts? You walk up to a doctor and say, hey, you know, I'm on Anadrol, D-ball, some VAR, and I take Nova, and oh, by the way, I also added in some Ostrine, some LGD, and MK677, and see what they say. They have no clue what those things are. And so, guys, I had medical doctors, endocrinologists testifying in court against me that did not know the names of these drugs. They said that tadalafil, you know, Cialis, that was a steroid in court. That's the level of intellect that we're dealing with. And so unless you have somebody who's trained at reading blood work from people who are admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs, they have no clue.
And in the second video I'm going to post later on, I went to a endocrinologist and he also gives his opinion.
Did I just hear someone in the background tell him what an endocrinologist is? Is this his girlfriend in the car? Who is this female? Did y'all hear that voice?
Fully analyzes my blood work. I know there's been a couple of questions about supplementations I've been taking, which I'm going to list out on my second video as well.
And so do you know what these unbiased opinions are? Hey, a doctor, I want to pay you to tell me things that could prove that I'm not actually on steroids. Find any excuse possible in the world. I don't care how rare the disease is, you name it, to explain it. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. The simplest explanation is bro is on steroids and lots of them. But rather than that, let's find every rare disease possible to explain it. Oh, and he found one comment that agreed with him, and so he pinned it. And so before it was pinned, it's down here. I'm going to read it. As someone who has their medical degree and understood the video, there's more than likely no anabolic use. Why or how could you say that? And so you have your medical degree from where? Where did you get the degree from? A cereal box? How could you say it's more likely not from steroid use than actually using steroids? I also found it odd that you would send Greg blood work if you were not natural. So I knew there was more to the story. And so you're assuming he was natural and sent me the blood work and that he wasn't just formerly on steroids and got off of them and then sent me the blood work thinking that he had passed. Bro couldn't say endocrinologist. You really think he looked at his blood work and thought, oh, that's going to come out as being a fake natty? Or do you think he thought, oh, testosterone's in the normal range and so that proves I'm natural?
It's a lab report for Prosper Noir 4, a 29-year-old male who has had his bloods drawn to look for evidence for the use of performance-enhancing drugs.
I know that first lady's voice. That is Winter Adams. She is not a doctor. She's a wellness competitor. No disrespect in the slightest. I love Winter and I respect what she does. One of the best UK wellness athletes. I'm just saying I don't remember her being an actual doctor, that's all. And so we have a wellness competitor. Most wellness competitors are not natural, and so perhaps she knows a little bit. But he's saying it's a doctor. I'm reading it's a wellness competitor. And she's not actually a doctor. She's not his girlfriend. She's studying medicine, so take that.
Whilst the use of those steroids, as well as the use of enclomiphene and SARMs, can lead to a raised panel in the liver, such as this.
The first doctor or wellness competitor, whatever you want to call her, she just agreed with me. It can do it. It can cause that 100%.
It's also possible that training intensely, taking any form of supplementation, can lead to raised liver enzymes.
And so she's saying if you take creatine, if you take Turk Builder Max, Turk Platinum, GO2 Max, or Harder Than Last Time, or any of those supplements that it could cause this. Are you kidding me? Any supplement or training hard can triple your liver enzymes. There's no way that's an actual doctor, because if it is, she should lose her license. There's no way you actually believe that. And so listen, you don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about ALT and GGT both elevated in unison together. It's not from overtraining. If it was just one, maybe it's overtrained. Probably not that high, not this elevated. Because if it was, well, you better stop training. But training doesn't elevate your GGT. Did you know that? And so how are you reading blood there if you didn't even know that? And so if it was from some weird, strange genetic mutation and it caused this kind of damage, to take some normal supplementation from ashwagandha or something, it would be such an extreme event. His liver would be shutting down. It would be a medical emergency. It wouldn't just be, hey, it's elevated, go have a good day. It would be bad.
Or having any undiagnosed liver condition or liver stress can lead to raised liver enzymes.
If you had an undiagnosed liver disease, you would have extrahepatic symptoms. You would see it. He would have at least some of the following. For example, the jaundice, the yellow of the eyes. He would have distended abdominal veins. He would perhaps have armpit hair missing from under his arms. And also, not to mention edema, which is fluid retention around the ankles, the lower extremities of the legs. Do we see any of this? Not to mention his albumin is normal, and so the stuff his liver is supposed to make, it's being made. And so how could he have both? And so your explanation, it's maybe possible, 1 in a million, probably less. And so why are we going with that? We're going to go with the 1 in a million chance that he has this rare diagnosed condition that wasn't diagnosed, that should be, or he took steroids. And look at his physique.
Also, having any viral infections can lead to raised liver enzymes.
Yeah, viral infections could cause this, but if you look at his white blood cell count, it's normal, and so he doesn't have a viral infection. And so why are we listing things that he could have when it's impossible that he has them? It'd be like saying, he might have this rare disease. That could have caused it. It's only caused in Caucasians, and bro, it's black. You really going to give that explanation?
The use of a product Peak Max, which includes ingredients that cause mild dehydration, such as dandelion root and uva ursi.
You know what it had to be? These herbs, uva ursi leaves and dandelion root, which can cause mild dehydration, very, very mild. It had to be that, all the damage to his kidneys, to his body, it's caused from these over-the-counter herbs, don't you know? Do you remember that thing called an intake form where you're supposed to list all supplements that you're taking? He didn't even list creatine. He said vitamin C. Why was it not saying uva ursi leaves and dandelion root, or Did they have to concoct some kind of a story afterwards saying, hey, I know, we'll write that you took this and write what you took that, and I'll say it in a doctor voice and make people think that that's what you had?
Can also lead to these raised liver enzymes. So there is no evidence to suggest that anabolic steroids have been used.
Not even alcohol would do this. Alcohol dehydrates your body. Think of caffeine. Bro could add 2 liters of caffeine and had 10 beers, likely wouldn't have got those results. Do you really think Erva Ursules and dandelion root are going to cause this? And so listen, your ALT, it's not going to be affected by your dehydration status. And so just because you didn't drink water, you had a cup of coffee, you drank pre-workout, it's not going to cause your ALT to be this greatly elevated. And so what I do believe is she's confusing this marker with creatinine, which can in fact be greatly elevated through dehydration, of which it was, but they're not related. And so she may know a little bit of one thing over here, but she's confusing with another. And so she has some understanding of blood work, but clearly not enough.
There's also no evidence for the use of enclomiphene.
There's no evidence of enclomiphene. How could you say that? I mean, do you not know what enclomiphene does? How can you deny it? Why not at least say, you know, enclomiphene would do all these things, but maybe it wasn't that, versus saying, no, it can't be that. This is ridiculous. The ALT and the GGT are both elevated. The creatinine is through the roof. The LH was above normal. How can you say there's no signs?
These don't show any of the typical recovery patterns. If he had recently stopped using enclomiphene, as was claimed.
And so she's saying, I said that he took enclomiphene, that he stopped. No, I said that he's on enclomiphene as a part of his PCT to get his testosterone back to normal.
In that case, you would see a suppression of LH and FSH. In addition, if he had recently stopped using enclomiphene, that would also go back down into normal ranges.
But the problem is he hadn't just stopped previously. If he had stopped several weeks ago, then yes. But if he's still on it, or maybe he stopped taking it a day or two ago, it's still going to be elevated.
And then this SHBG, the binding protein, being on the higher end. What this does suggest is that there has been some natural suppression of testosterone.
Okay, listen. Natural suppression is mediated through the hypothalamus pituitary axis. And so the brain would stop producing LH and FSH in response to a stressor. And so we are not seeing a natural suppression right here. We're seeing suppression due to taking something in the past. And so if we saw a natural suppression, and let's give you an example, Jeff Nippert, who's been dieting, very similar. Jeff is looking excellent. He's lean, he's down to about 155 pounds. His LH and FSH were very, very low, both of them, around 1 point something, perhaps 2 point something, but it wasn't exceptionally low, like 0.3, 0.5, whatever. In comparison, Prosper Fitness LH was through the roof. And that is a sign of using something not natural suppression. Do you get it now?
This may also be linked to the liver enzymes that we saw were elevated, as SHBG is produced by the liver, which can then lead to that reduction in the free testosterone.
You were saying maybe he has an undiagnosed liver condition. Now, if that were the case, he wouldn't be having SHBG this high because the liver is what produces that. It would be damaged, he would have lower SHBG. And so the fact that it's high means his liver is functioning properly and doesn't have some undiagnosed condition. Additionally, SHBG is elevated through the use of enclomiphene. And this is due to the estrogenic effects of clomiphene. And so do you now get it? Does it make sense to you? It couldn't have been this rare 1 in a million chance, rare liver disease that was undiagnosed magically. They just didn't notice it. The guy's almost 30, and much more likely from enclomiphene.
Now, Trenbolone suppresses the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis significantly, and the recovery is quite slow. So we wouldn't expect the FSH to actually be in range.
It can be if you're using enclomiphene after. If you're doing a PCT, yeah. Tren is very suppressive. Why do you think Bro would have been then using enclomiphene? To get unsuppressed. This is what it does. That's why people go through PCTs. And so the whole reason that I said this in the previous video is that you use either nandrolone, DEXA, and or Tren, because that is going to increase the prolactin. And so because the prolactin was at the upper end range of normal, despite the fact that he's on a diet, despite the fact that you'd expect it to be lower, is because he had previously used DEXA and or Tren in the past. And remember, prolactin suppresses LH and FSH, but yet LH was through the roof. Enclomiphene raises the LH. And Tren and DECA would increase prolactin, which would decrease the LH. And so how are we seeing elevated LH unless he's using enclomiphene?
There are also other markers that are found usually in line with the use of Trenbolone, in particular raised cortisol levels, which we can see here is not the case as the cortisol levels are normal and in range.
And so one more thing, she's saying that Trenbolone increases the production of cortisol when it actually does the opposite. And so she got it 100% wrong.
Therefore, this profile shows an endocrinological system that is working to optimize the free testosterone.
Or it shows an endocrinological system that is not working due to prior use of performance-enhancing drugs. And so yes, the blood work shows that his body is trying to optimize the use of testosterone, which is the opposite of what happens when you diet to this extent. But it's exactly what happens when you use enclomiphene.
Therefore, the testes are functioning normally. What this indicates is that the luteinizing hormone is still signaling to the testes to produce testosterone.
If you're actually natural and your LH is above 10, you don't have properly functioning testes. It's not happening. She's got every single thing wrong. It's one point after the other. It's simply illogical. And so if you take her word over mine, we've lost hope. Believe her then. Go ahead. Be my guest. If you want to believe that he's 100% natural because this woman, who I think is a wellness competitor, perhaps is his girlfriend, maybe she studied medicine at some point in her life, I don't know. But if you believe her over mine, I don't care. Believe him. He's 100% natural. Yay! Does that make you feel better? Or you can go with the science.
If there was damage to the testes or atrophy of the testes, then this testosterone would be much lower.
Not if you're on enclomiphene. And so the only way to actually prove this he would need to be willing to show the testicular size on camera. You would have to have an OF account. He could show it. And so ladies, if you want to see if Prosper Fitness is actually natural, and oh yeah, people have DM'd me and told me some stories. That's right, Prosper Fitness. People have told me in the DM, but I'm not going to read them, but people have outed you. People that actually know. And so you ain't natty. You can have this person say that you are, but trust me, there's people out there that know, and they've told me.
Suggesting the use of anabolics such as Trenbolone. Now, this is inaccurate, as the use of Trenbolone and Nandrolone actually suppress LH and FSH.
Of course they do. He used Tren, got off the Tren, got on enclomiphene, caused the LH to go up. Why are you strawmanning everything that I say? Because you know he's a fake natty and you're covering for him. What's more likely? He looks like this and has perked up blood work. And so what blood work would he have to show he's a fake natty? How much would it have to be? Would every single marker have to be through the roof? Oh, he probably has this rare disease. He used dandelion root. He slept wrong. He's black. You can't win.
In addition to this, the use of those anabolic steroids would actually result in a low SHBG.
He was on them, and now he's not. Does he look like a lifetime natural? Lifetime means his entire life. That's what I stated. And so all you're doing is straw man arguing me. If you steel man me, you would agree with every single point that I've made.
The filtration rate of the kidney being on the lower end, urea being on the higher end again, can be a result of a diet high in protein and also dehydration present at the time of testing.
If natural bodybuilding actually caused all this bullshit and caused all these stressors, and that ursi leaves and dandelion roots did this, they should all be banned.
Prosper's LH and FSH pretty normal. The LH is very, very slightly raised. And that can happen if someone is recovering from anabolic steroid use, but usually you see a lower total testosterone.
Unless they're on enclomiphene.
His total testosterone is about 50 percentile, like in the middle of range.
And so his testosterone, he says, is about the 50th percentile, but yet his LH is at the 99th percentile. And so explain the discrepancy. Oh, that's right, you did not.
Can increase your muscle mass by maybe 2 to 5%, but nothing like the kind of changes which can happen from using much more traditional anabolic performance-enhancing drugs.
And so he's saying, well, if he had taken enclomiphene, it might only help his physique grow up by perhaps 5%. But remember this. He could have used Tren DECA, testosterone, SARMs, MK677. He could have used a host of other drugs previously and then stopped all those steroids and then taken enclomiphene and got these exact same results. And so you can believe that he didn't take anything if you want to believe. You know, Mike O'Hearn, he's likely also natural, right? I mean, you can believe that, or you can believe what's most likely happening, which is enclomiphene having previously taken steroids. That's what it shows.
Like I said, this is just one moment in time, but a blood test. It's not really enough to tell you anything. You can also do things like DEXA scans.
And so, you know, this doctor, his suggestion is that the blood work, it doesn't really do all that much. It's just one blood work. But what you could have done was a DEXA scan. Is that what I now have to say with fake natties? Show me the DEXA scan. How would a DEXA scan help decide if he's natty or not? That is literally, I'm showing him saying it. I'm not making this shit up. This is not AI. He said, to see if he's natty or not, you should use a DEXA scan.
Doesn't really tell you a huge amount. You can't prove something with it. But also there's lots of information there about someone's health and about the effects of anabolic androgenic steroids.
Yeah, that's right. With blood work, you can't prove that they're lifetime natural. But if you have blood work like this, you can prove that they're not. Ending it here. And so HLT is looking for a sales distribution manager. We're trying to get HLT products, for example, the Turk Platinum, the Turk Builder Max, the Geo2 Max, all of this into stores worldwide, primarily in North America. And so if you have experience in this, if you worked in this field in the past, apply by clicking the link in the description. And of course, we're looking for ambassadors as well as sponsored athletes. And so if you want to work for HLT supplements, you believe in the brand, click the link and apply right now. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. And also, if you're looking to get your blood work done and get analysis from a doctor, a professional that knows what they're doing, I've partnered with AlgoRx. I'm part of the company. I want you to get your blood work, be healthier than last time. You can get supplements from them. And so if you're interested, click the link in the description. And until next time, I am out.